Hi guys, this is the Revisit Reviews and today we have a guest with us. Give it up for Aditya Dutta on drums. Okay, ये वाला तुमको दे रहे हम. And if you know jazz, if you know funk, if you know R&B, gospel, and if you've been hanging out at all of the various venues in Delhi, you know Aditya Dutta, and it's an honor to be here with you, man. So the question that we are discussing today is: should artists or musicians berate themselves after a gig, or is it okay to berate yourself? Is it should they not? What do you have to say about it?
Man, TLDR, if you praise yourself, you will berate yourself. So
what does TLDR mean?
Too long,
The
don't
little
read.
Kya?
It basically is like a to sum up.
Achha.
To sum it up.
to sum it
This
up,
is what I think.
I didn't know.
it's a Reddit lingo.
Reddit terminology.
I don't know.
I know the etymology also of the word. I just learned it like a week ago, this word.
Etymology.
Hey, but a very individual perspective, man.
Where it comes from, basically.
You've got your own perspective regarding how you think about music, how you want to shape your own musicianship. So you have got your own standards. You're going to feel happy about them. When you don't meet them, you're going to be a bit sad about it. So objectively speaking, anyone can choose to feel however they want. But the moment you start imposing your personal benchmarks on people you are playing with and other musicians, that's where that toxicity starts
Can you give me an
happening.
example of, say, someone imposing their benchmarks on other musicians?
No, for example, we are drummers, right? And we've passively had this conversation a lot कि यार ये time में नहीं बजा रहा या वो time में नहीं बजा रहा.
ठीक है.
ठीक है?
हाँ.
No, let's be honest about it. Like,
अरे मैं तो बहुत जज करता हूँ.
हाँ, हम बैक एली में ये बात करते हैं तो हम स्टेज पे फील कर रहे हैं तभी हम बैक एली में ये बात कर रहे हैं. तो मैं टाइम में नहीं बजा रहा, मेरे को उससे अपने आप को क्रिटिसाइज मैं करूं, ग्रेट.
बट आप किसी और को मत करो.
बट मैं अब ठीक है यार, उसको क्या पता लूज बजाने का मन कर रहा हो, क्या पता ही वाज ट्राइंग और शी वाज ट्राइंग टू गो फॉर समथिंग.
This thought is very weird because it's like saying it's okay to make a bad movie because क्या पता उसका bad movie बनाने का मन कर रहा है.
यार
It's okay to make bad food.
as working musicians, we are not always working in a group where there is a synergy and like, you know, everything.
But bro,
perspective is shaped up. For example, Revisit, you guys have been playing together, rehearsing together for a very long time. That how you think about music has sort of become a one entity.
amongst all of us, yeah.
And you rarely get those cases. Like, I have those cases with the bands and projects that I have been playing with, and it takes a while.
Name a few good musicians that you play with. Jaise
Man, Siddharth Gautam, Rhythm Bansal, Sonic Shori, Vatsal Bakhda. These four guys I have spent the most amount of time. Rhythm Bansal and I started playing together.
CBS.
Yeah. Sonic and I lived together for a while. Siddharth, Sonic and I have been playing for the last, since October 21 actually. So we've been doing the Wednesdays at Piano Man. And it took us 1 year just to, you know, get into the fundamentals of music at one wavelength. Okay, how I feel about time, how he feels about time, and it's a very gradual process. So you cannot expect that in all situations.
So over here, you're saying you guys can talk to each other about, you know, each
You
other's...
can criticize together, you can evaluate yourselves together, you can point out the good things together, and you don't really have to think about
किसको बुरा लगेगा या ऐसा.
हाँ, बुरा लगने की बात नहीं है कि you don't have to think about the basic fundamentals of how you approach music.
Because that's
It's
clear.
one and the same for all of them.
Makes sense.
But coming back to the point, ki you are not always in those situations. As
Yeah.
session artist, you are working with 10 other people.
Exactly.
Like, you go to jam sessions and like you play with
You
n
play
number
with-
of people.
you play
You
with
play with
people
someone
you've
for the
never
first
also
time.
seen before.
So
Right.
in that context, if you try and impose your sense of musicianship, because your musicianship is just this much, and it can be anything, right?
But I think then it becomes like in different situations you berate yourself for different things, right? Probably when you're going to go and fulfill a professional responsibility, you berate yourself for that. And if that doesn't happen, you berate yourself. And if you play with a band that you've been playing with for a while, then you berate yourself for the fact that probably you weren't able to express or you weren't able to align with the band. Right?
I think that...
And that's a healthy berating, man.
Yeah.
That should be there. Like, how else would you grow?
हाँ, definitely. वही तो some level of criticism has to be there. Because बात तो फिर वही हो जाएगी, अगर criticism नहीं है तो आप ignorant हो, और अगर आप ignorant हो तो आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते.
The topic here though is after the gig, right after the gig.
But I think again, what
No,
Karan
right
said.
after the gig is a whole different thing.
Again, what I'm saying is, let me state the question again. After the gig, it's not what you're talking about is berating in general. कि भाई मैंने self analysis किया.
Critical evaluation.
I'm saying
of
वो
yourself.
तो of course that is necessary to evolve as human beings also. क्योंकि वही क्या था वो सर्वाइवल ऑफ द फिटेस्ट. तो फिट आप तभी होगे ना जब आप क्रिटिकली एनालाइज करोगे कि हाँ शायद आई नीड मोर फिटनेस, आई ऑल्सो नीड मोर फिटनेस. बट व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज कि राइट आफ्टर द गिग कि गिग खत्म हुआ जी, अब रेस्ट करने का टाइम है, बट आप अपनी ही बजा रहे हो.
I think that Karan also said this. I think it begs the question, ki, as I said before, ki, what standard, rather than berating yourself or not, what standard are you judging yourself upon
What are you berating yourself
after you gig or after you play a gig? What's the standard?
And whatever your current sense of musicianship is, it keeps on changing every
Definitely,
year.
I definitely agree. क्या
Right? Your taste in music, how you think about music, and your sense of fundamentals of music. Even your fundamentals do not remain the same. I think you've already talked about inside playing, outside playing,
No, we
practicing
haven't.
and everything.
बात कर ही नहीं सकते.
But every year, it's like for full-time working musicians, and if you're practicing and like you're keeping at your art, you keep coming back to the fundamental. It's like a circle.
Definitely.
तो आपकी जो basic standards और benchmarks भी हैं ना music के, so it's like I did a gig for which I felt like really great. Now that I listen to it, I'm like, what the fuck was that bullshit? But in that moment, that was great.
Yeah.
But coming back to the main point, what he mentioned, like getting the conversation to is berating yourself right after the gig.
Yeah.
Man, honestly, I don't have a clear-cut answer on it, but I know for a fact that you should not go with that perspective, because it's been happening with me for 1 year now. Ki, you record something or you did a gig and you hear it back right after like giving the take, and you are so critical about it, and you listen to it like a week from that day, and suddenly like it's better than what you felt in that moment. I don't know the exact reason behind it, and is that the case with you guys as well?
It used to be, not anymore. I'll tell
Not
you why.
anymore?
I'll tell you why. Because I feel self-criticism after a point becomes arrogant. Because I'll tell you what, for me, like when I'm playing saxophone, I know where I stand almost always. And that means for me in my head, even when I'm playing a solo at a gig, usually I'm not thinking. But when I'm done, I know how I sounded. If it was good, if it was, of course, hearing yourself back has helped me the most. क्योंकि मैं अपने आप को इतना रिकॉर्ड करता हूँ, मुझे जनरली पता होता है कि यार ये मेरा ऑप्टिमल लेवल है, आज मैं ऑप्टिमल लेवल पे नहीं था. तो जब मैं सुनूंगा भी ना, ऑफ कोर्स द बैंड साउंड्स ग्रेट व्हेन आई हियर इट बैक एज वेल. बट जब मैं सुनता हूँ मुझे लगता है कि नहीं यार मैं अच्छा नहीं था, तो मुझे उतना बुरा फील नहीं होता, बिकॉज मैं अपने आप को चाली पाका से कंपेयर कर ही नहीं रहा हूँ. जब आप ज़्यादा क्रिटिकल होते हैं अपने बारे में, तब आप कहीं ना कहीं अपने आप को कंपेयर कर रहे हो यार उससे या इससे. अब ना मैंने वो कंपैरिजन छोड़ दिया, बिकॉज मेरे को पता है मेरी औकात ही नहीं है. You know what I mean? I have a very long run perspective. So as life says, keep your expectations low, so you're always surprised by life. For me, I have a very realist point of view that the day I start sounding good, eventually when that happens, of course I'll feel great. But till then, I'm not supposed to be like, bro, tu to bahut hi ganda hai. Because the thing is, of course, I know I'm not the greatest. But somewhere, if you are always criticizing yourself, that means you're one arrogant cunt. You know?
नहीं यार, इसके ना there are two reasons. Of course, there's a certain level of narcissism.
Not just narcissism. I think you're arrogant because you feel you've arrived. In your head, you're like, bro, मैं तो सही था. नहीं bro, आप सही होगे.
नहीं आप बोल रहे हो berating yourself
is okay.
Right after the gig becomes
because
arrogant.
I'm sort of confused about
What
the question
becomes
right
arrogant?
now.
All of that is fine. I'm saying being too self-critical, being like, यार मैं अच्छा sound क्यों नहीं कर रहा हूँ. That is because it's a longer process. Life is a longer
But
process.
why is it arrogant?
It is arrogant because in your head यू आर लाइक मैं चार्ली पार्कर क्यों नहीं बन गया, बिकॉज तेरे अब तूने गाना लिखा, तुम लोग उसको फाड़ के फेंक देते हो, नहीं करना चाहिए, दैट इज एरोगेंस. व्हाई? बिकॉज तुम अपने लिए तो गुस्सा हो ही, तुम्हारे माइंड में सबकॉन्शियसली तुम ये बोल रहे हो यार ये जॉन मेयर जितना अच्छा थोड़ा है, यू नो व्हाट आई मीन. बट जॉन मेयर ने भी 150 गाने लिखे हैं ना बिफोर ही बिकेम जॉन मेयर. सो यू शुड हैव द पर्सपेक्टिव कि ओह दिस इज नॉट व्हाट इट शुड बी, बट someday it will get there, so maybe write more.
So you're saying self-doubt is arrogance?
Somewhere it is. Some part of self-doubt comes from arrogance, that भाई मैं उतना अच्छा क्यों नहीं बन पाया, because उसका आंसर ये है कि because it takes time. Self-criticism is great. Too much of self-criticism means बंदा थोड़ा arrogant है,
अपने आप को ज्यादा ही समझता है.
हाँ.
He holds himself or herself to an extreme standard.
भाई अगर आपको पता है आप कितने अच्छे हो, जो कि आपको जनरली पता होना चाहिए, वो इस लोगों को पता नहीं होता, मे बी बिकॉज दे डोंट रिकॉर्ड देमसेल्व्स, दे डोंट प्ले विद अदर आर्टिस्ट. मैं 15 साल बजा के ये बोल रहा हूँ, मैंने हर साल अगर 100 गिग भी बजाई तो 1500 गिग बजाई है मैंने. उनमें से मुझे लिटरली 10 या 11 गिग्स याद है जिनमें मेरे को अच्छा फील हो रहा था, बाकी सब में मेरे को नहीं अच्छा फील हो रहा. वो वेरियस रीजन है, मेरे को इन ईयर मिक्स नहीं मिलता, ये नहीं मिलता, वो नहीं मिलता. सो आई हैव कम टू द कंक्लूजन दैट इस चीज़ में बहुत ही रेयरली आपको अच्छा फील होगा. तो मैं सैड नहीं होऊंगा अब अपनी लाइफ को लेकर या मेरी अपनी प्लेइंग को लेकर. मेरे को गिग से पहले पता है भाई मैं दिल्ली में एक प्राइवेट गिग बजा रहा हूँ, मैं यहाँ पर लोगों के लिए बजाने आया हूँ. मेरा पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू होना चाहिए सैक्सोफोन बजा, उबासी ले और साइड हो,
एंटरटेन करो, घर जा.
हाँ. बट यस, जब मैं अपने आप को बेरेट तब कर सकता हूँ जब मैं एज ही राइटली पॉइंटेड आउट, जब आपका प्रोजेक्ट है, आप उस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से कर रहे हो. Otherwise, I'm not going to berate. Even then, I'm not going to berate myself. Because for me, berating means that मैं कुछ और expect कर रहा था. मैं तो अपने आप को शाहरुख खान बना रहा था. But हूँ मैं मतलब अभय शर्मा. You know what I mean? So, for me, berating should happen when you're home, when you're in that zone, when you're like, man, how do I improve? उस केस में भी you should, I'm saying, do everything to avoid wanting to kill yourself as a human being and as a musician and as a gentle soul. You are here for 60 years at max. And उसमें भी अगर मैं ये टेंशन लेता रहूँगा कि अनु पसंद नहीं आए मेरी प्लेइंग, अनु ने मेरी प्लेइंग पसंद आई, तो मैं आई एम फुद्दू ना. मैं यहाँ पर सिर्फ बकवास करना है, मतलब फिर
यार. बट माई पॉइंट इज कि अनु पसंद आए या अनु ना पसंद आए से ज़्यादा है कि मेनू पसंद आई कि नहीं आई. It's about the self perspective.
बट मेनू ते पसंद आना ही नहीं है ना. That's the
हाँ, और वो कभी आएगा भी नहीं.
Eventually, bro, we all have to realize if you will do someday when you do those gigs, do those many gigs. Because for example, Zakir ji हैं. अब you can't ask Zakir Hussain if he felt great at a gig, because he has become the zone. Do you know what I mean? Like he is tabla. So once that happens, my thing is maybe I have to reach that level when it just I've become one with the instrument. It doesn't matter if the sound was good or not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether मतलब berate करना या अच्छा feel करना, it doesn't matter. It's a constant thing that just happening.
Again,
it's an extension.
Man,
that's
I don't
going
think
on.
it's a musical topic. It's a life topic.
Yes.
It's an attitude towards life. And whatever kind of attitude you have generally in life, you're gonna impose that. Like if you grew up in a household where it was always something more expected out of you.
Yeah.
No matter how good you did,
Yeah.
like you could have done better.
Oh.
How your perspective shapes up, or you come from a background where no matter what you did,
It was
everything
always
was
good enough.
exceptional.
Yeah.
Right? So it's more about the life attitude. It's not about, because no musician will ever be convinced of what they
played.
Like I heard Joshua Redman say he never hear back his albums. He records music, the studio takes over, they put it out, he just consults with the mix and like whether it sounds as he would like.
Because
for it
he
to
has
sound.
become the zone.
It's like I don't want to listen to myself. Like I'll just go and play this music and then I'll move on to the next work.
This is what I'm saying. Of course, I am nowhere saying that I'm Joshua Redman. But I know I'm not Joshua Redman.
Of course.
तो समझ रहा है मेरी बात. So मेरे को पता है. Now when I hear myself and I see that अरे यार क्या बजा रहा है, I don't see. I was like, oh shit, मैं ये सोच रहा था उस वक्त. Stupid. अब आगे बढ़ते हैं. And once you have that long term feeling about life, just a long term thought in life कि यार बहुत टाइम है म्यूजिक करने के लिए, चीज़ें करने के लिए, सीखने के लिए बहुत टाइम. ऑफ कोर्स घर आके you should not berate yourself right after the gig also because you're surrounded by people. भाई अब तूने अच्छा नहीं बजाया इसका मतलब ये थोड़ा ड्रमर का गिग अच्छा नहीं होगा. मे बी उसकी बंदी आई थी, मे बी वो खुश हो गया. My bad. मतलब I'm not.
I think everybody understands that.
So I'm saying it's not about girlfriend or boyfriend. I'm just saying it is about other people. And a gig means there are more people involved. Now, मैं जाके I make a scene out of it. I shouldn't. If people do that, that's fine. I personally choose to not do it. I have done that at times. मैंने किया है इसलिए मुझे पता है कि यार वो बाद इसका आफ्टर टेस्ट अच्छा नहीं है इस चीज़ का. तो मैं वो जनरली अवॉइड करता हूँ. But if people are doing it, of course, you have a right to express.
That's the thing. You learn to not do it after you've done it for a while.
Yes. Exactly.
I think उस चीज़ का point नहीं होता कोई यार. उससे कुछ I don't think anything good ever came out of me stressing after a gig like
Stressing
ever.
over everything,
But I have a different point of view to that. You should stress about this till one day before your gig. Like for example, एक process होना चाहिए आपका एक काम करने का कि भाई मैंने this is what I saw on in a YouTube video. तो वो बोल रहा था कि आपके पास ना जैसे 2 बॉक्स होने चाहिए. एक बॉक्स है of material, एक बॉक्स है material that you want to work for the next gig, and the other is how many times you worked on it. So the more you put it in this box, the more chances of you like eventually gig पे क्या होता है, एक बॉक्स पड़ा है, तुमने हाथ डालना है और एक चीज निकालनी है, ठीक है. और वो it can be anything. It can be a good solo, it can be a bad solo, but the chances of you playing a good solo drastically improve if that process was right. अगर इस बॉक्स में अच्छी प्रैक्टिस बैठी है या अच्छे सोलोस बैठे हैं, अच्छे मोमेंट्स बैठे हैं, तो साला वही चूज करेगा ना इवेंचुअली. सो आई एम सेइंग you should fret about yourself and the set. And when I say fret, in your practice, when you are working on it, when making sure that you, and when I say fret, I don't mean to anxious हो या पागल हो रहे हो या टेंशन में हो. You should worry about the set before the gig.
Yeah, I was.
Once the gig is over, it's done, bro. It's done. For me, that's over.
I was listening to some classical musicians interview. काफी time पहले. So they said this one thing where they go like, when you start learning a new thing, when you learn a new thing, you practice it, learn it, practice it. But all that time you're practicing it wrong, because what you're really trying to do is trying to get it right, right, by practice. But the moment you get it right, you stop practicing. So you practice wrong more times than practicing it right.
That's an intelligent point of view. Yeah.
Right. So if you practice it more right times, then you'll play it right.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly what this is. बिल्कुल सही. That's a very valid point. Exactly मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ. But at a gig, after a gig in life, I feel that पिक्चर खत्म, अब अगला दिन शुरू कर.
हाँ.
मेरे को ऐसा लगता है, सो के उठ गए ना तो नया पॉइंट. But हाँ, anything else you guys wish to add to this? तेरे पास कुछ है बोलने को तो तेरा
kill yourself
like
after
that stream of thought like just went away. I started listening to you. It came in the middle, like now I'm trying to recall. But yeah.
But do you agree what I said?
No, what you were saying like holds absolutely true. But again, man, like because we are full-time musicians, right? And you've been doing this the longest amongst all of us, right? So you will have a better perspective towards it for sure.
But then
Just
if you
like,
call someone who's 30 years elder, उसका भी होगा.
बिल्कुल. He might have more insight. I don't know if it's better or not, but far more experience, so more insight about things. But when you are growing up, okay, Addy is like 20 right now, right?
So good at 20, dude.
Yeah, I was still trying to figure out whether I should like study for the college exams or like is music a thing?
Is music a real thing?
Yeah.
Does music exist?
But anyway, so when you're growing up, like and like you're becoming a working musician, it tends to like shape your whole identity, whole personality around that.
Sorry, I missed it. Sorry.
Like when you're growing up and you are lucky enough or fortunate enough, because I don't think 10 years ago it was as feasible for a young person to take music as a career, like performance as a career. At least in Delhi NCR, I would say.
No, it will never be easy in India till it is.
But it is easier than 10 years ago.
Of course.
And post-COVID, like, number of venues have gone down. But I remember 2017-18, there were like 10-12 venues. Like, no matter what kind of music you are playing, there was some way to sustain yourself, especially for a young person.
Delhi is the worst place to be right now if you're a musician, by the way. Bombay, Bangalore, they are in the
things have changed post-COVID.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about 17-18.
Yes.
There was a time, and I'm sure like down the road, that time might come back again, or other cities might become those centers.
True.
But when you're growing up and like, you get everything on the basis of your musicianship. Like music has given you what? Like, I'm speaking from my perspective. It gave you an identity. It gave you a sustenance. It gave you confidence. It gave you everything you have in life. Like, so this one thing has given you everything. So for sure, like, how you're going to relate to this one thing, like you'll get attached to it beyond a healthy point. And that's a natural process.
Unhealthy obsession.
Of course, man. When something gives you everything, man, like I see, so I'll talk about this guy, Agnay. Agnay picked up sax in 19.
So good.
Right?
I love his playing.
And it's been what, 3-4 years, and this guy is like,
He's 19 now. Maybe 15 pe was not either.
I'm talking about 2019 is like
2009.
I was talking to him, so he told me like he picked up sax in that year. And now he has a career through it. He has a, an identity. Everyone knows him for this. So of course, like, and whenever I see him, he's like practicing and like, he's obsessed with, I want to get better at it. And all of us have had those phases and still have that. Like, not saying that we are detached now, but I would say that I am personally not unhealthily attached to it. Like, there is a certain sense of detachment now that I've done it for 5-6 years. So उस प्रोसेस में आपके साथ होगा, आप लाइफ में वो सबसे बड़ी चीज बन जाएगी. And everyone says that, like, man, there's more to life. And now even I realize that, okay, there is more to life than just music. Just slaying at a gig is not the end of the world, or like fucking up a gig is not like.
True. That's exactly my point as well.
And I used to be one of those who's like, if the gig is not good, man, life sucks. And if the gig was great, I'm like, man, party from my side. So वो होगा, वो natural process है. And then eventually, you do more of it. You have other experiences in life. You experience intimacy. You experiences new experiences and a lot of things. So growing up, like, you get all experiences just through this one thing.
Yeah.
So it's bound to happen that.
But I know musicians who are, elder to me, and they still get angry about their gig and are always just.
Yeah.
But उस point में वो point सही है कि वो आपका natural life का thought ही यही है कि.
Yeah, and a lot of times, okay, who Karthik Srivastava used to say this, that like, you, like, the kind of musician you are, that's the kind of person you are in life. The kind of attitude you have. And okay, we can debate about this one statement
I think
a lot.
It's quite a blanket statement, frankly.
No, but in a certain way, it's true, man. Like, if you have a strong work ethic, no matter what you do in life, you will have a strong work ethic. A punctual person will go for a date on time, will go for a rehearsal on time.
The thing is, I don't agree with this.
Yeah, as a general rule of thumb.
But Jaco, Charlie Parker, all of the great musicians, they
Sucked
were
at life, bro.
Yeah, they were very bad.
So bad
human
at
beings.
life.
Miles Davis was a bad.
यार
human being.
अच्छा again legends के साथ ना नहीं कंपेयर करना चाहिए. मैं एक एवरेज बंदे के लिए एक बात कह रहा हूँ, बिकॉज हर बंदा जाको नहीं बनेगा.
नहीं तेरा point सही है.
जाको जितनी ऑब्सेशन
मेरा I'm just saying it's too much of a generalization. It's a good generalization, but बहुत ही ज़्यादा general है, because I know people who are very bad at life.
I feel like music should be your friend, but music shouldn't be your only friend. Then it gets fucked up a little. Because if music becomes your whole life, then it's a problem.
Just which is what you were also saying.
So वो यार वो natural process है. For example, like you have to do it for 4-5 years for you to get over it.
Yeah. But do you
ये
guys
भी सही
think?
है.
Do you guys
जैसे
think?
हनीमून पीरियड होता है.
How will you get over it?
No,
जो
but
भी
do you
तेरा
guys
चल रहा
think- Do you? चल रहा है.
चल रहा है ना भाई.
Oh. But point being,
Oh.
मैं do you think musicians should be a little nicer to each other? Because this is also a musician problem. Like, you know, if
Man,
musicians are nicer
they
to
can
each
be
other.
assholes to each other. Just be kind. Don't be
but-
nice, but be kind.
No, but assholes.
I think expecting niceness from musicians is just
नहीं,
too much.
I meant kind only.
Expecting practice.
I think expecting anything from
No, man.
musicians is
Okay, अगर practice की बात करेंगे ना तो what is practice first of all? What kind of practice?
Playing your
Yeah,
instrument.
What is practice?
What kind of practice? What
Cliche,
kind of
cliche
practice?
Datta.
No, I'm just asking you because you were talking about practicing. So what kind of practicing do you mean?
I think all practicing, yeah. Just playing your instrument, learning songs, practicing technique, you know,
Practicing playing with people.
practicing playing with people. I think all of this counts as practice for me, at least. And I
It's an
think
umbrella term.
it's an umbrella term.
Assorted platter.
छतरी है ये.
So छतरी bro. अरे इसने लास्ट पॉडकास्ट में बोल दिया कि प्रैक्टिस इज अम्ब्रेला.
फिर umbrella term बोला था यार मैंने. Pause था उस बीच में.
मैं तब से
गाड़ मार लिया है.
छतरी बोल रहा हूँ यार. छतरी करके आया आज.
करण छतरी वाधवा.
अच्छा नहीं वैसे प्रैक्टिस पे बात हो चुकी है. Let's not deviate to
बट तेरा
practice.
क्या पॉइंट है प्रैक्टिस को लेकर? जस्ट सो वी नो.
यार
करनी चाहिए या नहीं करनी चाहिए?
भाई practice will never be overrated. Never was, never is and never will be.
ये हुई ना बात.
But what
But
kind?
भी है.
But what kind of practicing? Because like there are phases for all kinds of things, and when you're because practicing playing with others is a completely different ball game
Yeah.
than practicing your instrument.
Yeah.
And then practicing your own instrument has two sides. There's a technical side to it, and there's a craft side. Art side to it, like the creative side to it. And you need to have a healthy balance between both. If you do not have the craft, then you cannot explore the art. और सिर्फ क्राफ्ट है और आर्ट नहीं है तो फिर म्यूजिक बजा ही क्यों रहे हो? So you have to find your own balance, and you cannot compare yourself to the legends. You can compare yourself only to where you stand in your own journey. Like practicing is like playing a skill based matchmaking of FPS games. Like if you are a level 10 player and you're put in a lobby of 200 level players, man, you will give up the game in 10 minutes. Call of Duty is the most anxious experience I have ever had in my life.
I love it. We love that shit.
And there's a reason skill based matchmaking works and people clock in like those 10,000 hours, 5,000 hours, 1,000 hours like playing a game.
But the thing is, people have been complaining about this because they find such sweaty lobbies. Sweaty lobbies.
But they keep
just try
coming.
hard
But
everywhere.
they keep. But
Just
Just what everywhere?
Sweaty lobbies. Sweaty lobby means you're playing with people at
man,
your level.
it actually happens at the odd times of the day.
हाँ,
We end up playing at 3
हाँ.
at night, so you're gonna get matched
you-
with the lobby in
You're gonna
Australia.
get matched with everyone at your level, so everyone's trying super hard. You're not getting straight up destroyed. You're not straight up destroying someone, but it's just so competitive that it's, as he said, it's very anxious sometimes.
Yeah, I knew rather
No.
this guy is in Canada now. I knew this professional FIFA player. So I used to be his sparring partner. तो वो just to talk about this gaming वाला thing.
आपको तो खा जाता होगा वो.
हाँ, but मैंने भी उसको हराया है, just so you know. It is just that, you know, so after a game he'd comment shit like, oh, nice goal, but here we go. And here we go बोल के फिर सीधा 6 गोल 5 गोल. So with them, I feel that absolutely I'm with you that हाँ भाई, dude, here we go.
Nice solo, bro. Wait.
When he said when
Abhay had a jam session.
when Supreet Singh says
Nice one, bro.
Supreet, if you're watching, when Supreet Singh says here we go, that means, and then he'll tell me,
तो आपने तभी वो गाना लिखा था, Here We Go, revisit.
then he would say shit like सुन यार, a good defense wins you a match, but a great defense wins you a title. I'm like, whoa. And then he'd be like, भाई
मैं
तू
ऐसा था Call of Duty में.
and then he'd be like, भाई तू saxophone में जाता है, मेरे को गिटार बजानी है यार. वहाँ मिल गए हम लोग. But in any case, so I understand what you're saying कि अगर बहुत बड़े लेवल के साथ बजा रहे हो तो मे बी तुम्हारा मन नहीं करेगा.
Like you will for sure, like, you know,
तो वहाँ आप अपने आप को बेरेट भी करोगे.
बहुत ज्यादा.
वहाँ बिरेट करने
वहाँ
में
तो
पॉइंट ही
आप
नहीं
में बिरेट
बनता.
करो.
वहाँ तो कंपेयर, वहाँ तो फिर यू आर लाइक like narcissism raised to the power narcissism if you are actually comparing yourself to, you know.
मैं यही बोलता हूँ musicians को कि भाई berate करने का मौका अपने आप को बाद में दो.
But yeah, honestly, should there be a level of comparison at all?
Guys, that is a separate podcast.
There is always is.
Thank you so much, Aditya, for being here. There are more podcasts that we have to record. Now, we will end this so that we can have one more podcast, so that we have one more podcast to split the money with.
And milking it, really
We are milking the already dead cow. And Aditya Dutta, Karan Wadhwa, Aditya Bhagavatula, reviews of
Abhay
project.
Sharma.
My name is Abhay Sharma.
Abhay the Sharma, saxophone player
Reviews of
from New
project signing
Delhi.
off. So it is okay if you want to berate yourself. It's okay if you don't want
Just
to.
have fun, guys. Just
Have fun,
make
guys.
sure to have fun.
Bye.